Section 6.4 is on rational exponents. It is a pretty short section. So we are taking a look at exponents. Rational, remember, means can be written as a fraction. So we're basically going to have fractional exponents. So first thing we need to do is take a look at the square root of x is the same thing as an exponent. On your calculator, let's type in 9 to the 1/2 power. Notice 9 to the 1/2 power gives me 3. If we did 25 to the 1/2 power, I'm getting 5. Square root of 25 is 5. 100 to the 1/2 power is 10. Square root of 100 is 10. Notice the square root of x is the same thing as x to the 1/2 power. Square root is the same thing as the 1/2 exponent. We could do that with other ones as well. A cube root is the same thing as the 1/3 power. You can verify that by typing in 8 to the 1/3 power. Cube root of 8 is indeed 2. Fourth root is the same thing as the 1/4 power, and so on. Fifth root and 1/5 power are the same thing. Basically, the nth root of x is the same thing as x to the 1 over n power. So typically what we will be doing on these types of problems is we will be asked to simplify them. Example 1 asks us to simplify 125 to the 1/3 power. 125 to the 1/3 power. Now, 1/3 power is the same thing as cube root, and we know the cube root of 125 is 5. Easy enough. Part B. Part B says 27 to the 2/3 power. 27 to the 2/3 power. The easiest way to do these is to split up our rational exponent. Instead of thinking about 27 to the 2/3, we're going to rewrite it as, not that, as 27 to the 1/3 and then squared. Notice power of a power here, you would multiply 1/3 times 2, 27 to the 2/3. These are equivalent expressions. This one is easier to think about. And now work from the inside out. 27 to the 1/3, cube root of 27 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. Technically, you can split it up either way, 27 to the 1/3 and then squared. You could also do 27 squared and then to the 1/3 power. These problems are almost always no calculator. 27 squared you're not going to want to do without a calculator, and then take the cube root. So it's easier to make the number small first and then bigger. Example 2 asks us to simplify each of the following. In part A, we are given 4 to the negative 2.5 power. 4 to the negative 2.5, 2.5, which is 5/2. I would rewrite it as an improper fraction, and now we can try it the same way we did the previous one. 4 to the 1/2. I would keep the negative sign with the 5. 1/2 times negative 5 is negative 5/2. 1/2 power means square root of 4 is 2. Negative exponents get moved down to the bottom. 2 to the 5th. 2 to the 2nd is 4. To the 3rd is 8. To the 4th would be 16. To the 5th is 32. 1 over 32. Negative 32 to the 3/5. Negative 32 to the 3/5 power. So we've got negative 32. We're raising it to the 1/5. And then cubing it. We want the 5th root of negative 32. Sometimes we can take roots of negative numbers, sometimes we can't. Because we are taking the 5th root of negative 32, because it's an odd root, we are allowed to take an odd root of a negative number. It's negative 2. If I multiply negative 2 by itself an odd number of times, I will get negative. Negative 2 cubed. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. Couple more. Part C, 64 to the 3/2. 64 to the 3/2. 64 to the 1/2 and then cubed. Again, I'd be in the habit of rewriting it like that every single time. 64 to the 1/2 is 8. 8 cubed. 8 times 8 is 64. Times 8 is, whoops. I said times 8 and I wrote an 8. I believe, what is that, 512? Yep. And finally, part D. Part D asks us to raise 16y to the negative 8 all to the negative 3/4. That is a negative 3/4. The negative and the fraction bar kind of blended together there. 16y to the negative 8 all raised to the negative 3/4. As long as I'm multiplying in here, I can distribute this exponent. If it's a plus or minus, you cannot, but I should distribute this exponent. We need to raise 16 to the negative 3/4 and y to the negative 8th to the negative 3/4. Let's take care of this part first. I think it's the easier part. I have power of a power. When we do, we multiply the exponents. Negative times negative is positive. 8 times 3/4. 24 over 4 is 6. 16 to the negative 3/4. We're going to evaluate the same way we did the previous several. We're going to write it as 16 to the 1/4. And then the negative 3rd. I need the 4th root of 16. We should be thinking what to the 4th is 16. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. So I've got 2 to the negative 3rd, y to the 6th. Negative exponents move to the bottom. 2 cubed is 8. That's all for today's notes, relatively short.